Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a Mercedes 190 2.5 diesel. Quite a rare car these days, especially a diesel. There's not many 2.5 diesels knocking around. This car's actually been on the channel before. It was on one of our monthly vlogs. What did we do? We did an inspection on the car. Service, minor service and inspection, and was looking at a couple of faults for the car, and loads of people in the comments were dead interested in the car. Anyway, so the car's come back for the additional work of where we left off. Actually, that's a little bit of a lie. One of the jobs it came in for was the car was not switching off. You turned the ignition off and the car kept running. Adam will obviously cut to that. We've got this problem. I'm now going to switch the engine off. That's the engine off. Keys out. And the engine is still running. So the car came back to have the vacuum pump fitted, which I'll just take the car in the garage and then I'll carry on explaining what I was explaining. So whilst I'm getting it on the ramp, it's a new car to me, not a new customer. The customer is, well, it's a son and a father actually, and basically they wanted one of these, they found a good one and they want to get it back to best. We had a good look over the car last time and showed everybody that in fact it is in quite good condition. It needs one of the wings repairing and loads of smallish jobs that you'd expect on a, I'm gonna have a wild guess, is it a 30-year-old car? Something like that. An old classic Mercedes anyway. First job with us was service and inspection. So we gave him a list of stuff. It took us a while to gather up all the parts we needed, which is back for today. In the meantime, he did come back to have the car not switching off when you turn the key off fixed, which was the vacuum pump. I'm going to presume you can hear the engine running, which now works perfectly. So hot in it, it's so hot at the moment. 4 o'clock. All my videos recorded at 4 o'clock, last hour of the day when we get a chance. It's 26 degrees, 4 o'clock, the sun's not even out. Let's get it on the ramp. I will show you the vacuum pump and then I'll show you what the customer has requested to be done on this car and some of the things we found. So we found some things that needed attention, and there's quite a few customer specific, a few things the customer wants doing that in theory you could say do or don't need doing, but yeah, let's get on with it. First thing is, before I get out of the car, is the gear selector has too much movement in it, which if you're a frequent viewer of the channel you will know that that is a little tiny bush underneath the gear selector. It's a couple of quid. So we'll replace that to firm up the gear selection. That's a minor. So here she is, the 2.5 diesel. Like I say, a few of you will recognize this from a previous video. So what we did was we changed the, get a torch, changed the vacuum pump to cure the engine not switching off, which is down here. You may not be able to see that. Oh, you might get a better angle through there. That's what cured the car not switching off. Now, I did quite a bit of research on this, and the Mercedes vacuum pumps aren't available anymore. Gearbox, who probably originally made them for Mercedes, you can still get them. They're quite hard to find. It took me about 3 different suppliers to find it. The first 2 I bought, said they had them in stock, I bought them and I got refunded because they didn't have them. The reason I wanted a Gearbox one is because it's quite well documented that they modified the vacuum pump. In fact, I kept the old one to one side, so I'll try and explain what the difference was. There's lots of cheap aftermarket brands out there. I didn't know if they were modified or not. I didn't have time to film when it came back for this job, but I knew the car was coming back again, so I purposely kept it to one side. So here's the old vacuum pump, and as you can see, basically that runs off, the only way I can describe it is like a cam really, which pushes that up and down, and this setup here was slightly different. I think it was a single roller bearing rather than the 3. I'm pretty sure that's what was different. It was that roller bearing setup. If you can get a Peerberg one, I would go for it. Part number 7206 07740. While we was in there, the fan belt needed replacing. It was quite heavily worn. You've got to take the fan belt off to do the job, so we replaced at the same time, and we did a guide pulley as well. So that should bring you up to date with the 2.5 diesel 190. Customer requested jobs are, the car's failed its MOT on some welding. So that's not a customer requested job, is it? That's just a job. I don't know why I just said that. The first problem is the keys on the car. The key for the ignition don't match the exterior locks. Now that is not unusual on these old Mercedes. Barrels fail and most people just put what they call a repair barrel in, which comes with a matching key, rather than get a barrel from Germany which matches your original key. One, because of cost, and two, there's not many that are on the original key, even in the doors, so you could order the original one, it still not work. This customer's key for the body, I'll call it, doesn't even fit the doors, so we have to lock and unlock the car via the boot lid. Luckily the central locking works, so you unlock at the boot, which unlocks the full car, and then you use the other key for the ignition to drive off. So the customer's bought a second-hand lock set with ignition, boot, passengers and driver's door all on one key. So that'll bring the car back to fully operational on one key, which is good news, because at the minute he has to get in and out through the boot lid. Not ideal. Another customer requested job is, like I say, he's trying to bring this car back to mechanically best. He's requested for brand new, genuine front and rear shock absorbers and front and rear springs. The car is sat a little bit low for my liking. I'm talking tiny bit, but when he's got himself and 3 passengers in the car and he's going over a speed bump, it's bottoming out and the floor is scraping on the speed bump. The shocks and springs are the original ones. They're probably sagged over the years. He's asked for shocks and springs all round, all genuine, which you can still get. A couple of tiny little things to get it cosmetically better. The aerial bonnet for the quarter panel is completely missing. So the aerial's just rattling around and that is allowing water to go inside the boot. Headlamp washer wiper is put down. I'm going to presume that doesn't work. We'll test that. He's asked for loads of service work. Everything, we only did a minor service because it was a new car, so the customer was just getting a feel for it. So he wants the whole car going through now. So he wants brake fluid, fuel filter, power steering filter, he wants a gearbox service, torque converter draining, stuff like that. So we're going to go through all the service work, and that's not far off it. The car has failed its MOT on a bit of welding, so we'll stick it on the ramp and we'll show you that. This is the MOT failure. There's a 2-3 inch hole in the floor. So we need to weld that up. That is not uncommon considering the age of the car. This car's actually in really good condition underneath, and that is the only bit of welding the car requires. And I can't see anywhere else on the car where it's even been previously welded, which is very unusual for a classic car in the UK. Right, so I think we're going to start with front shocks and springs. We're actually doing anti-roll bar bushes as well. There's a bit of a while we're in there, just doing the outers, but you can see how good condition it is in here. Even the springs aren't even usually really rusty and crusty. So it's a shame about this wing really, how that's like that, but the rest of the car's fine. Yeah, we'll start with the simple stuff and then we'll work our way on to like welding and whatnot. So that's a spring compressed, nice and easy. That actually compressed dead easy. Usually I'm like, you know, proper ratcheting away. I just wound that up. It's not that I'm strong, that was just really straightforward. Amazing that you can still get springs for 2.5 diesel 190s genuine, because you can't get springs for quite a few more modern cars, but you can for these. But it's amazing what Mercs do have in and what they don't. I know for my CLK 55 AMG, springs are no longer available. Again, we'll put the bomb on the floor and get that uncompressed as quickly as possible. But while the spring's out, we can now safely change the shock absorber. I'm hoping the condition of this car, everything's got to go nice and straightforward, because usually you're fighting with a bit of rust and rusty bolts and stuff like that. So far, so good. Tiny little discs, single discs, not vented. Kind of forgot that I've got to get on the step ladders to undo this, and John's on the floor. So me and John are on our own today, so I wasn't going to film this because it's difficult with short staff, but we've decided to do it anyway. Right, that is one shock absorber out. The new shockers we've just discovered don't come with bump stops and a dust cover, so that's the first problem we've come across. Probably should have opened them when they arrived. Anyway, there's the old shocker. As you can see, there's no leaks on it at all. The shaft is nice and dry. Usually you get a bit of misting of oil if it starts to leak, but these are dry. But I can push the shock absorber down without too much force. I'm not using much force at all there. It is coming back up. But if I compare it to the new one, see how much force to push both of them down. I'm struggling to push the left one down compared to the right one. And then when I let go, you could see how fast the new one came up compared to the old one. I'll just do that again. I've got to swap hands. I'll use my stronger hand for the... So hopefully that's a good enough demonstration that although the shocker's not leaking, it is not performing as good as it should. As you can see, genuine shock absorber made by Sachs. The car's got to have a tons better ride. It's got to absorb the bumps better. And I think combined with the new springs, it is obviously going to sit a little bit higher. Let's see, compare the springs. So you can see the springs exactly the same. So the reason I've left the clamp in the old one is I'm just going to transfer that to the new one in exactly the same position. So when I compress it up, I know it's going to go straight back in. But first problem is we can't fit the new shocker because we need a new bump stop and a dust cover. Right, so while we're waiting for shock absorber, dust covers and bump stops, which is completely my fault, I should have checked if they did or didn't come with them. They don't come with them. So the car's now stuck on the ramp with no shocker and no spring in it. I can't get those parts for 2 days. While we're waiting for those, we've got to get on with a few other bits. So we're going to start attacking the welding underneath the car. So I've loosened off the side skirt. I think I'll get away with not having to take it off, to be honest. So we're just going to grind up this area, expose all the bad metal, cut it out, and then weld the patch in. But that is where the jacking point goes. That's nice and solid. There's another bung that goes there. So, and there's actually a drain hole that goes there. So I'm presuming that that drain hole at some point in its life has got blocked. It's held water and rotted through. But considering that's the only bit of welding on the whole car, that's not bad at all. Welding isn't really my thing, but small jobs like that I don't mind doing. Right, so we've given the area a bit of a clean up. Wire wheel to get rid of the under seal and belt sander to clean it up. So if you come underneath, you can see that metal's not too bad. So I think what we're going to do now is cut a bit of a section out, trace that section onto some sheet metal so we can make one nice piece to go in, weld it all the way around, seal it in, a little bit of treatment, and then that should be that done. Right, so I'm happy with the section we've cut out now. So we're going to make a little template. Just thought I'd show you how I make a template, a little top tip. So scrap piece of paper, I'm going to put it over the hole. I'm just going to rub my thumb in a bit of dirt, and then if you come underneath, we will rub the dirt around the hole, and then it kind of gives you the outlay of where we are cutting. So it's easier than taking measurements, trying to figure it out. We'll see how that comes out. So we've cut our piece out now, so we're just going to offer it back up to the hole. I'd say that isn't bad, not bad at all. I've took a bit of a rough measurement of the thickness of the steel. So now we're going to get the same thickness of steel, trace that out onto the steel, cut it out of the steel, start welding it back in. So we've cut the shape out, matched up the steel about 2mm. First fit is not that far off. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a few marks on the steel, grind it up so it's a bit of a better fit, and then we'll start welding. Right, so that's the welding all done. We've ground it down with the belt sander and a sanding disc on the grinder. So it all looks nice and smooth, and then we've covered it in brushable seam sealant to make it all look nice and pretty. So now we're going to wait for that to go off, and then we can put an undercoating on it, like a Schultz underbody protection. On top of that, we've drilled our hole for our new bung. We've got a genuine bung. Where the hole was in the first place there's supposed to be a bung there. Basically, there's little holes in the bung to allow water to come out. So what's probably happened is the bung has blocked up, water's been sat in there, and that's what's made it rot in the first place. So that's all done. So while we're waiting for that sealant to go off, we're going to concentrate on some smaller jobs. So we'll have a look at the list, decide what we're going to do. Whilst we're waiting for the sealant to go off on the welding, we thought we'd do some easy jobs now. It's Friday afternoon, a couple of hours before home time, so we're just going to do some easy stuff. I've just changed the power steering filter, which is inside the power steering pump. We've extracted all the fluid out, took the filter out, then you can extract a bit more fluid out, fresh filter, pour it back in with obviously new oil, and that's probably a bit of a DIY job that. You could probably do that yourself. Nice and easy, it is right there. And we're also going to change the fuel filter, which is right here. Just goes to show these old Mercs were designed to be maintained. I feel like modern cars aren't designed to be maintained. Fuel filter, very simple, big nut in the top. Just going to take that out. I think I'll get that filter out without spilling it everywhere. Oh. I'm going to put that back in. I'm going to suck the fluid out of the filter because I don't want it to spill all over my new belt that I've just fitted. Oh dear, I'm spilling diesel everywhere. One filter out. So I'm just going to pour some, this is actually Win's diesel pre-emissions test treatment. So I'm just going to put a bit of this in to prime it. It won't do it any harm. Put that in, fit that. Going to have the Mercedes emblem and part number facing us, so everyone can see it's a genuine filter and the part number is on there should anyone need to order a replacement. Tighten that up, and then apart from a bit of a clean up, that's that done. So what's left from the diesel treatment we'll put in the tank. You can even see how clean it is in there. Look how clean that is. Sealant's going off well. It's one of the hottest days of the year today, so it's drying really quick. So I think we'll be coating that. We're going to coat it in this before we go home. Bottom guard recoat. Sounds a bit fruity, doesn't it? Bottom guard. Right, that's the welding all done. We've let the sealant go off, and then we've just coated it in some bottom guard. And yeah, if you have a look underneath there now, it's factory finish pretty much. We'll let that dry over the weekend. It's a Friday. Put all the bungs back in on Monday. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that. As I say, I'm not a welder. Don't mind doing the odd patch and stuff like that. I think the customer will be pretty happy with that. Yeah, quite happy with that. So yeah, see you in a couple of days. back on the 190. It's now Monday, it's 4:30, so we've got about half an hour to get a bit of work done. And my bump stop has arrived and my rubber boot has arrived. Like I've said previously, that was kind of my mistake, not being as prepared as I could have been. However, we can get this in now. So, top mount, we're gonna put in first with the boot on. Right, just nip them in with my fingers. Noisy ramp. So now we can put the shocker in. Okay. Right, then we can bolt the shocker back in place because it's been a couple of days. I can't remember if that faces forward or backwards. So I'm going to just check the other side for reference, and it is forwards. So we'll get this bolted back in, then we can get the spring in, and then I can get my ramp back because obviously we're a working garage and I've not been able to use the ramp all day waiting for parts. These would be great cars for you apprentices to work on, 190s. We'll get this spring compressed and get this car mobile because it's been stuck on the ramp, and then obviously we've just got to repeat the same process on the passenger side front. Rear shocks and springs to do on the rear obviously, and then we'll get back to our list to see what else we've got to do. Decompress this spring, check all our nuts and bolts, and then that is this side done. The spring sits, I don't know if you can see there, the spring sits up against there, so when that goes down, the spring can't move. As I take the pressure off, just sits in there nicely. That's it. Right, so that's the shock and spring done. We've got a little wire in there. We're doing the outer anti-roll bar bush. It's sagging a tiny little bit, nothing major. I think a pair or a tenner, maybe a little bit more. No extra labour whilst we're doing all this on this corner. Come in here, take the bracket off, slide the old one off. Old one off. I think they're about a tenner for the pair. Bit of lube on the end so it slides on nice. Yeah, not as simple as it sounds, eh? Right, spring, shocker, bump stop, dust cover, outer anti-roll bar bush. That's that done. It's now home time. See you tomorrow. Right, we're back on with the 190. It's been a few days since we've managed to get some work done. We've had quite a lot of bad news at the garage, which we'll go into on the SPR monthly. Nathan has done the opposing front shock and spring to myself off camera. How's that shock absorber responding? As you can see, by the time that's got back to full extension, Nathan's going to have another birthday. When is your birthday, Nathan?
May next year.
May next year. So yeah, that's the fronts done. Now time to get on with the backs. Alright, so here we've got the shocker and the spring. We've got a brand new spring and a brand new shocker. So we're going to drop this arm down to release the pressure off the spring, and then we can take the shocker out. Should we have a joint effort?
Go on, and I'll just hold the spanner still then. Nice easy job today.
I've got the camera and the ratchet.
Oh.
This is a nice ratchet.
Yeah, nice little snap on.
Nathan's wallet opening again. Definitely your wallet.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
To be fair, that spring doesn't look in bad condition. You can still see the original Mercedes colour codes on it, just about. I bet if you give that a clean, you could see them. Let's get this shocker out. Let's see how badly worn that is. Oh, that's not bad.
Not too
Not
bad,
bad.
is it?
That shocker's not in bad condition, really.
No, it's not.
So we've got brand new ones to go back in. We've also got new bolt and bush kit, which is still available from Mercedes as well. You don't get the top bushes with a new shock absorber from Mercedes. You order this kit and you get bushes and bolts. All looks nice and fresh. It's not too expensive. It's a good while you're in there. Dab, dab, dab. Bit more. Right, Nathan's done rear shocks and springs, both sides. As a little while we're in there, we've got a aerial mast rubber bung boot, whatever you want to call it. So if you come around here, basically, the aerial is flopping around, doing nothing, letting loads of water in the boot. 2 litre, 2.3, 2.3 16 valve, 2.5 16 valve. You know what the 2.3 and the 2.5 16 valve are?
Nope.
190 Cosworths.
Oh, proper 190s.
Not had one of them in for years. No longer available from Mercedes. However, I think this is from Car Masts UK. Little shout out to them. If anybody's missing one, they seem to be the place that still stocks a lot of stuff for classic cars, not just Mercedes stuff. A lot of classic aerials, antennas, fitting kits, boots, stuff like that. Anyway, I think we can all agree for, I think it was 20 quid that. Some people might say 20 quid. But yeah, I think we can all agree that just finishes that off, just wiping off the excess grease. No more hole. Get back to the job sheet and see what we've got left to do. So the next job to do is gearbox service and torque converter drain. You won't believe it, but we've obviously reversed the car on the ramp, switched it off. It's landed right where it should, so we can drain the torque converter. So we've only got to move it a tiny bit. So the customer's complained the gearbox is slipping a bit, so he's driving down the road, revs are miles too high, and the gearbox is trying to catch up with the speed of the engine basically. Potentially could be a gearbox issue. As a first port of call, he's asked us to replace gearbox fluid, filter, and drain the torque converter. It's definitely a first port of call depending on the service history of the gearbox. I have road tested the car prior to doing this gearbox service and I have experienced it. It is quite bad. So Nathan started the gearbox service. As you can see, the filter is off. We've got the torque converter draining. The fluid is a bit discoloured. They never really look too bad, these, but it is a bit brown. Top tip, if anyone's ever servicing this style of gearbox, is when you take the old filter off, obviously this is a new one, these seals get stuck to here, and it's very easy to fit your new filter and then you've got two seals on and then your gearbox will be slipping. So make sure there's no seals stuck to there. I'm going to give this a really good drain, fresh fluid, and see how we go on. What's your favourite gearbox to service, Nate?
Gearbox. You know what?
You've got your 4-speed, your 5-speed, your 7s, your 9s, and your DCT, and your new DCT.
I'd say the new DCT.
Because there's no filters.
No filters, it's literally just a drain and fill. In and out job.
So the latest DCT dual clutch transmission gearboxes that go in the A classes don't have filters anymore. We've gone from single filters on the old ones to double filters. They kept single filters for 4-speed, 5-speed, 7-speed. Then the 9-speed has 2, which is part of the sump. The DCT transmission has 2, which is all good. The more filtration, the better. And then the latest DCT gearbox has none. You drain it, you fill it, and it's done. I don't know, my limited engineering knowledge tells me that that's not good, because the little fine metal particles are just not getting stuck in a filter anywhere and replaced. They're just floating and floating and floating. So when you do have the gearbox service, you're not actually gonna get as much of it out as you can.
Yeah.
Nice little chat while we're just doing this nice and easy 4-speed one. Good old positive handbrake. Right, Nathan's done the gearbox service, which is, I feel like I'm not doing much here. Everybody says they want to see more of Nathan, so there you go. Also, we've fitted the new gear selector bush, so the gear lever is now nice and tight and precise. I presume we showed the difference before, but there was loads of play in it, but that's just nice and solid now. So, filter fluid in, start her up. You've not plugged the gearbox back in.
No, I haven't either.
That's why it won't start.
Do you want to wait there a sec?
That'll do. Right, back. Right, gearbox is plugged in. Great way to disable your old 190 if you go on holiday. Climb underneath your car and unplug your gearbox.
Sounds horrible, that, doesn't it?
Go to the moon and back that engine, mate. And back again. Difficult to hear me over this 2.5 diesel, non-turbo. Gone through the gears, check the fluid level, right at the bottom there. So what we need to do is, I'll move away from the engine so you can hear me. What we need to do is get it up to full temperature and check the fluid level again, because we want it in between these two notches ideally. But that is the gearbox service done. Have I missed anything? When we did the front shockers, one of the top mounts had already been replaced, but the other side hadn't. So as a while you're in there, we changed that. I could have showed you any, to be honest. That side looks brand new as well. So we've changed the top mount as well. If anybody was wondering, top mounts have been changed. Next on the list is brake fluid. As you can see, that brake fluid is very, very dirty and discoloured. That looks like a dirty engine oil. It should be very clear. So we will suck out all that old nasty fluid, put fresh in, pump all fresh fluid through all 4 calipers, get a good brake pedal, and what else? Oh, I think we need to look at the headlamp washers aren't working. He's asked if we can have a look at that. Should we try it now? Headlamps on, yeah. I've got a leak here. This is leaking. Right, so we've got a blocked headlamp washer jet. I've took the pipe off, it's coming out the pipe fine. It's not coming out of the jet. What we've got is an old school an old school washer jet tool. So you get a tiny little pin on one side for cleaning it out, and that just fits perfectly down there. We can just give it a little clean. We can't make it any worse because it's blocked. Not coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, we just missed this off camera, but I've just blown that out of the washer jet itself, the headlamp washer jet. Where's that piece of snot gone? It's gone. Anyway, there must be a load of stuff in the tank. So I think what we're going to do is take the tank out, clean the tank. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know why you just done that.
It absolutely stinks. While you're in there, screen wash tank out and clean it. Right, on to the simple stuff. We are bleeding the brakes. We've sucked out all the old fluid out of the reservoir as it was really dirty. We've also took the screen wash bottle off, give it a good cleaning out, and we now have working headlamp washer jets. It was minging inside that bottle. Right down at the bottom of the bottle there was loads of brown snot type substances. So we've got to bleed the brakes manually on this. We can't do it with the modern brake bleeder. So this used to be like an apprentice job, sat in the car pressing the brake pedal, but I'm doing it. Nathan's bleeding the brakes down at the calipers. So we're going to flush all this old fluid out and then see what we've got left to do. But we can't be much left. Interior lights have got a question mark. Yeah, we've got no interior light, so we'll have a look at that. No interior lights. Right, okay, we need to have a look at that. Not many things left to do, so before you know it, we should be on the road test. I almost forgot, we've also done the ignition lock, door lock, boot lock, so the whole car is now on one key. We actually didn't film that, but it's not too bad to do. The boot lid, you've only got two 10mm nuts. Lock comes out, lock goes in, simple as that. The ignition, however, is a bit of a different story. Now, we got supplied a full ignition and it was actually the wrong one. It was out of a 190 petrol. So we quickly realised that it was the wrong one because the diesel one has a vacuum pipe going to it to switch it off. So we swapped just the barrel inside the ignition barrel. You can change just the barrel. It's a, oh, there you go. Thank you, Nathan. So as you can see, we took out the barrel out of the middle of that. None of it's on camera, so we'll use some B-roll. Hopefully the B-roll is playing as we speak. The car is now all on one matching key, which is nice. That's that job done. They were great, these 190s. It's when cars were proper cars. I mean, to get the door lock out of the door, there's a screw that goes in the side of the door. You unscrew it, take the barrel out, put your new one in, put the screw back in, job done. Let the glow plugs warm up, turn that down, line the windows up. Oh, put the armrest down. Fasten seatbelt sign. Now the interior lights are working. Right. First road test in the newly finished, back on the road, MOT'd 190 2.5D. Well, it's got an original Blaupunk stereo. Very crackly. 190 radios were actually an optional extra. When you ordered a 190, you had to ask for a radio, and there was many retrofits done afterwards. Put the speakers in the top of the dash and the radio, and it's actually nice. It's got the original radio. You can actually have these converted now to have a Bluetooth put in them to modernise it up, but keep the original look. Anyway, so my fresh suspension 190E, the car is definitely sitting a lot higher than it was. When we were replacing them, you could see that one of them wasn't doing much of a job and the other one was doing nothing at all. So good call changing the shocks. The rear shockers weren't too bad. Customer requested springs to be replaced as well, as we didn't know the age of them. All genuine parts on this one. What else has it had? A couple of service items, fuel filter, power steering filter and fluid. I say fluid, a bit of fluid. I'm actually putting a little kit together that you can buy. So you can buy off me a filter, the fluid and a syringe to perform your own little power steering pump fluid service type thing. Just a little idea I had. A lot of the classic guys are DIYers. Anyway, back to the 190, driving nice and straight. One job I have got left to do is tracking, because we've raised the suspension slightly. I do need to track it, but we're going to let the suspension settle down before we do that. Gearbox is shifting pretty good for an old 190 diesel. No slipping as of yet. We'll get our foot down and test that properly. I say get your foot down, you're never actually getting your foot down in a 2.5 diesel. These are more cruisers. Comfy cruiser. Overtake the cyclist. Well, it didn't slip going up the hill, so that's a good start. Actually a really good gear change. What else have we done to this? Oh, the welding. That's what it failed its MOT on, the welding. That came out pretty good. I'm not a welder fabricator at all. I'm sure the customer will be happy. It's nice and strong. I've had it on the ramp for multiple days and the jacking point hasn't gone through the body. So that's good. It looks good. I made it look as original as possible. So the new wiper blade, genuine. We've now got a working interior lamp, which was actually unplugged. Why that was, no idea. Plugged it back in. We had got that all up and running. The rear interior lamp, which is operated by this switch here. Still coming on and off, yes. Wasn't working. We took the lamp down and the contacts that hold the bulb had expanded a bit. So it was just a case of bending them a bit closer to make a closer contact on the bulb, and that was it. So a nice simple fix there. The car's now fully functioning on one key. Obviously the car needs a little bit of bodywork, but as you've probably seen when the car is on the ramp, this car is actually in really good condition. I can see why they're trying to bring it back to best. So I'm guessing you're all wondering now, how much has this car cost to fix? Well, let's find a spot to pull over and we'll go through the costs. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, it also had a vacuum pump to cure the engine switching off, which is now working perfectly. Quick rundown on what we've had apart from what I've already mentioned. Or do I just mention it all again? I'll mention it all again. Power steering filter, fuel filter, gearbox service. I have to say the gearbox is driving tons better than it was when it came in. So hopefully that's cured that. I've even been through the gears manually from second to third and held it in a gear. Give it the beans. Can you give it the beans in a 2.5 diesel? Well, we did, and it's not slipped, but I'll continue to test that. There's a learner driver just pulled up next to me. Probably thinking, why is that man talking to himself? Front, outer anti-roll bar bushes, welding, fix the interior light, aerial grommet. We need to do the wheel alignment. Headlamp washer jets weren't working. It's had the front shocks, the rear shocks, front and rear springs. It's also had one top mount on the front. A bit of a mistake on my part doing the front struts. I didn't order new bump stops and boots. Bit of a human error on my end and Mercedes end, I suppose. They could have told me it doesn't come with them. But anyway, wiper blade here and there. Now, before I reveal this price, I've gone over this bill about 3 times, and every time I thought, blimey, that's expensive. And I keep thinking there's something wrong on it, but there isn't. But bear in mind, we've used all genuine parts on this. The total bill is £3,500. It's not £3,500 exactly, but just to round it to the closest figure, 3,500. It's a lot of money, that. And like I say, I keep thinking it's wrong, but it's not, it's right. Nearly £2,000 worth of that is parts. 3,500. To keep a classic Mercedes on the road does require some investment, and it's an investment worth doing, I think. We need to keep some of these good old Mercs going. Nice little trip back to the garage now and check the gearbox fluid level one last time at full temperature. Yeah, something about keeping these old Mercs on the road. You feel like you're you feel like you're doing something good in the world. In fact, a 190 was my mum's first ever Mercedes. I'm not sure what the colour's called, but it was like a light blue and it had this same colour interior. Being in one of these actually brings back a lot of memories. She thought she was the bee's knees, as they say. And then from that day forward, she never had anything else but a Mercedes. We're now approaching a bypass, which is 50 mile an hour. So this will be a good little test for the gearbox. That is foot flat to the floor. And there we are. But no slipping. We got up to speed eventually. But yeah, I think that brings us to the end of our 190 2.5 diesel video. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell button so you get notified of up and coming videos. We've got some other good videos lined up. Thank you everybody who's been purchasing our merchandise. If you haven't purchased any already, please do so. Show some support to the channel. All the small profits from the merchandise go back into the channel. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.